Hi, everybody. Welcome. I appreciate you all for joining tonight. I'm going to do my best to make sure that this is absolutely worth your while. Before we get into it, I always like to start off with why you might want to listen to me talk to you for the next 60 minutes. I broke into dentistry in 2012, working for Clear Choice Dental Implants. And then from there, moved into a regional manager role with a smaller DSO. In 2016, I purchased a contingency dental staffing agency and quickly realized how much my clients hated that model, how much I hated that model. So I made my husband, Anthony, quit his job. He was in hospital communications. And we built out direct dental with our business partner, Frank, who's there in that Padres picture with me. And since then, we have been staffing dental practices all throughout the United States, connecting them directly with dental professionals that are looking for permanent or temporary work. So we have clients in California, Maine, Alaska, Hawaii, everywhere in between. So it's a really great product that we've built. But all day, every day, my job is talking with dental practices that need to hire, talking with dental professionals that are looking for permanent or temporary work, and then working with the job boards to make sure my clients' ads are seen by as many candidates as possible. So I'm taking all that knowledge from all three of those sectors and put it into this presentation for you tonight. So that way you can have success in posting a job advertisement and getting as many candidates as you can to your job. What we'll be going into, really sweet and simple, we'll be reviewing the job market together, trying to give you insight into why you need to put in so much effort into your job posts. Then we're going to talk about writing an advertisement that gets as many qualified candidates as possible. And then once we write up a job post that does that, where are we going to post our job so that way it's seen by as many potential applicants? And then we're going to go into Gen Z. We're going to talk about why you need to learn to work with and how to hire Gen Zs and how to go about doing that. So let's get into reviewing the market. I always like to start off with reviewing the dental labor market. Many of you are here tonight because you're having challenges in hiring. That's why you joined, right? And here's just some stats that are going on in the field right now. So this chart here, this is from the ADA's Health Policy Institute. They run a survey every quarter, and this is the data from Q1 of this year. They found that a third of dentists have been trying to hire within the last 3 months. When asked about the difficulty in hiring, they found that 88% of dentists feel that finding a hygienist is extremely or very challenging. 72% that finding a dental assistant is extremely or very challenging. I've been following this survey since 2021. And these numbers have been fairly consistent over the last 4 years. And so if you have been struggling to hire, you're absolutely not alone. Pretty much every dentist across the United States is having those issues. Additionally, in August of last year, we had the Health Resources and Service Administration. They released data revealing that the dental professional shortage has increased yet again. They're now estimating that it's going to take 9,938 dental professionals to fill the shortages that we currently have in the field. How are we going to do that? With Gen Z, and that's why we're going to talk about them. Additionally, we have the Dental Post Salary Survey Report, and they found that 34% of dental hygienists plan to retire within the next 6 years. And then we have the ADA's Communication Trend Report. They're coming in saying that the dentists are doing 30% more hygiene procedures than they were doing before the pandemic. And that's obviously due to the shortage of hygienists that we have in the field. Now, I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom, but what I want us to understand is that job advertising efforts that used to work for us in the past are different than what they need to be today. Today, we really have to work to figure out what our candidates in the field want, and then we need to write an advertisement that illustrates what they want, get them excited about the opportunity to work in your practice, and then get that in front of as many people as possible. And that's exactly what this presentation is going to be about tonight. So let's jump into job posts. Writing a job advertisement, it really is an art form nowadays. There are more jobs in the dental field than there are applicants to fill them. And so we find that it's the offices that take the time to write a really compelling job advertisement that are going to have the ones that have the most success in getting applicants to not only apply, but to also show up for the interview. And writing the job post that is going to do that, the way to do that is we got to start thinking like marketers. So we got to start doing market research to see what the candidates are looking for. Then we got to put that into a job post, and then we got to get it in front of as many eyes as possible. I do want to pause here real quick before I get too far into the presentation and do a quick poll. Lisa, if you could get that up for us. So I want to know, what is your current biggest challenge when hiring right now? Is it not enough applicants? Is it that you are getting applicants, but they're not responding or they're ghosting you? Are they coming in for the interviews and then their salary expectation is simply too high? Or is it just that you can't find the right fit? And then if you're lucky and you're not hiring and you're here, great. Go ahead and answer. All right. So yes, absolutely. So we're seeing 20% of you are saying that you're not getting enough applicants or that the salary expectations are too high. We're going to talk about both of those. And then applicants not responding or ghosting. Going to talk about that as well. If we can't seem to find the right fit, we'll get into that too much in this, but I definitely have some solutions for you that we can talk about towards the end. And then those of you that are not hiring, welcome. I hope that you'll still get some really great information out of this today. So wonderful. I want to talk about advertising for a minute. This here, sorry if it looks ugly or too small on your screen. This is a car window sticker. This is if you were going to go purchase a car, it's on the car. I think the point of these is to give you as much info as you need to know about the car. I don't think I've ever met a single person that looks at this and says, oh yeah, I got to buy this car right now. But this here is a print ad. It's for tires, so it's not for a car, but it's very bold and it makes a very strong statement. No, I do not think that a Ford sedan can pull an icebreaker ship through the ice. But what it does is it gets my attention. And if I was in the market for tires, this would get me to want to take action. And that is what we want to do with our job advertisements. We want to get people's attention and we want to get them to take action. And in a perfect world, it's rememberable enough that they don't ghost you. They're so excited about your job advertisement that when they apply, they're waiting for you to call them. It's not they apply just to apply. They're applying because I want this job. You did such a good job writing your advertisement that that candidate wants your job and they are waiting for you to call. So that is what we want to do. Granted, we don't have the means to create an amazing print ad or an expensive television commercial when we need to hire, but we're going to take these elements that we see in this print ad and put that into our advertisement. We're going to be really focusing on highlighting the amazing features about our practice, about working with you as a doctor, rather than just having a long list of duties and requirements that doesn't interest them or excite them at all. So here are my essential do's and don'ts of writing a job advertisement. With the do's, we want to get their attention. We want to tell them what they want to read and see, and then we want to get that in front of as many eyes as possible. It's very simple. That's marketing 101. What we don't want to do is we don't want to be that window sticker. So we're going to limit our verbiage. If your pay rate is lower than the other offices in the area, we're going to find a way to raise it. I'm going to talk about that in great detail shortly here. And we're not going to have a long list of duties and requirements without any benefits included or anything about the practice included. We're not going to use words like rock star, work hard, play hard, guru, ninja, wizard, Jedi. Those are overused. They now have a really negative connotation. And a lot of the research that is coming out is that applicants do not want to apply to jobs with that kind of verbiage in the job posting. So we're going to limit using that. And then we're going to make sure that we don't exclude any viable candidates, meaning that you're only going to include what you absolutely must have from them. For example, if you want a dental hygienist, if you need to hire a dental hygienist and you want them to be laser certified, but they do not absolutely need to be laser certified, we are not going to talk about laser certification in our ad at all. We're just going to leave it off because if you put it in there, chances are applicants are not going to apply to the job. 98% of hygienists are females. There's been so many studies out there that say females will not apply to a job unless they're 100% certain that they meet all of the criteria. So having any type of requirements that aren't 100% needed is just going to scare off some applicants for you, and we absolutely don't want to do that. So only include what you absolutely must have in the ad. So these are my do's and don'ts, but my biggest do is research what your applicants want before you put together a job advertisement. How do you do that? One of my favorite tools in the industry is Dental Post, their salary survey report that they publish every single January. This is a great tool to get into the minds of what dental professionals want and need out of their career. So these are the numbers that just came out this year at the beginning of 2025. And they found that 33.7% of hygienists plan to or might look for a new job this year. So if I was a dental practice owner looking at this report, there's two things I would be focusing on. If I have a hygienist that I love and I do not want them to be in that 34% that might be looking for a new job, what can I do to retain them? So you're going to want to sit down with your hygienist at least once a year and kind of review all of these desired benefits and any other benefits. Do you need more flexibility? Do you need more hours? Do you need less hours? What do you need from me to be happy? You just want to have that conversation with them every single year to make sure that they are happy with you and they're not going anywhere, because we know 88% of dentists said it's extremely or very challenging to find a hygienist. So if you have one that you love, you don't want to lose them. On the flip side, if you have to hire a dental hygienist, we know that 20% of them are looking for a higher income and about 30% of them are looking for a better work environment and better benefits. So I'm going to write a job advertisement that's going to convey, if you come over to my practice, you could possibly get those better benefits, better work environment, better pay over here with me. And same thing with dental assistants. They are also looking for better pay and a better work environment. So again, as a dentist or an employer, you want to sit down with your dental assistant if you love them and want to keep them, and just kind of go over all of these benefits and make sure that they have everything that they have and need from you. And then if you need to hire a dental assistant, we're going to come up with a way to show them that they could possibly get those better benefits, have that better work environment, and maybe even that better pay with us. For those of you that are kind of curious, 47% of dentists plan to or might look for a new job this year, with 50% of them saying that they want a better work environment. So if you've been on the fence about hiring an associate, this is definitely a great year to do that. And then admin support, this is your office managers, receptionists, treatment coordinators. 33% of them plan to or might look for a new job this year, with better pay being their number one reason to do that. So since pay seems to be a big issue in the dental field, let's touch on that real quickly when it comes to advertising. When a office contacts me and we start consulting on their job, big question I always get asked is, I don't know what the pay rate should be that I should post on my job. Don't overthink it. Just head to a job board, type in the position and the zip code, and see what other offices in your area are offering. In a perfect world, you can add $1 or $2 to that. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Don't go crazy on me. But you really want to be the most competitive pay in your job posting. This here just happened to be a happy accident if you guys can't see it. But if I fell into that 34% of hygienists that might be looking for a new job where better pay was what I was looking for, we have Hortonville at $38 to $42 an hour, and Appleton, which is about 10 miles away, for $40 to $55 an hour. Which one are you more likely to apply to? Probably Appleton. So they probably did their research and did just that, where they wanted to be competitive. Now, when I consult with offices on what pay rate should be, I often hear, I can't post that high, I can't afford it. So I want you to kind of remember here, we're advertising. I always reference like a car ad example. Usually when you see a car advertisement, it says something along the lines of starting at, and then it gives you like a really low price. And then you go into the car lots with that starting at price, and they say, sure, here are the two options for you. And there's like a neon green car with no engine and like an orange car with no air conditioning, like stripped to the bare minimum, right? But they got you in there, they got you on the lot, and now they're able to tell you all the other great things that this other vehicle has to offer you. And then before you know it, you're leaving happily. You might be a little bit disgruntled about the pay, but you're leaving happily with a car that matches your needs. So same thing for advertising. Appleton here, they have $40 to $55 an hour. That $55 is definitely the top pay in their area, but they have this wide range. This does two things for them. A, it attracts people that want that opportunity to earn a top pay. But if applicants are going on to the job board and they're setting their pay range at $45 or $50 an hour, nobody's even going to see this Hortonville practice. So having that wide pay range is what's going to get the applicants in. And then once they come into your office, you have the opportunity to explain to them how wonderful your practice is, how well you take care of everybody that works for you, how happy all of your patients are with you. And then you can negotiate with them and come up with a pay that feels comfortable for both of you. I have a really great little webinar that I'll link to at the end of this that kind of talks about how pay works, how those kind of negotiations talk to get them to agree to your pay. I don't have time to get into it tonight, but the thought process here is let's get these applicants into your office first, and then we can work out and negotiate the rate of pay. And the way we're going to get the applicants into your office is by advertising a slightly higher pay rate than you feel comfortable. But then again, you're getting them in and then you're negotiating accordingly. If you do not feel comfortable with this thought process of advertising, another thing a lot of my clients do that don't feel comfortable with that either is we calculate total compensation. And what we find if you're an office that's offering, pay time off, medical, 401k, sick days, all of those benefits that most of you are offering nowadays, it adds up to about an extra $4 an hour. So if you don't feel comfortable paying a dental assistant more than $22 an hour, but we've computed that your total compensation or all of your benefits add up to an extra $4 an hour, then we're going to post that job at $20 to $26 an hour. In the job description, we're going to write total compensation is $26 an hour. And then when they get in there, you're then able to explain hourly rate is $22 an hour, but with all of these benefits that I'm offering you, that's an extra $4 an hour. And that's where you get that total compensation of $26 an hour. So get really good about talking about benefits because that really is what's going to sell them on being with you and your practice. Then at this point, after I go into pay, a lot of people will just say, well, then I won't include a pay rate on my job posting. But that's not really the answer for you as well. And here's why. There's been a lot of research lately on job advertisements that have pay versus job advertisements that don't. And what we've found is that pay transparency has a lot of benefits. First one is the job boards, they like it. So having a pay on your attached to your job advertisement is going to give you better visibility. Google, they rank job advertisements higher than those that don't. And the rule with Google is if you're not on the front page, you don't exist. So you want them to rank your job very, very well. Career Builder has come out and they have said that posts with salaries perform 30% better. I've also ran the numbers with our jobs as well at Direct Dental, and ones that have pay attached to them, they see a 33% increase in applicants. So not only does it rank your job better to be seen by more candidates, you're just going to get more candidates overall because they are more likely to apply to your job. Also, what we found is that if you have a pay rate attached to your job, it limits people from falling off during the interview process. So we've all had it where we've had a nice amount of applicants apply, but then we go to call them and nobody's getting back to us, or they've entered into the interview process with us. They've maybe done a phone interview and we're scheduled to come in for a formal interview and they vanish. We found that the jobs that and research, not just us, but research out in the market has found that when there is pay transparency on the advertisement, candidates are less likely to drop off. So those of you that are having issues with ghosting, this is a good way to help prevent that. And then legal compliance. 40% of states now have pay transparency laws and more considering legislation. So it kind of just keeps you safe. These laws seem to pass in the middle of the night and we don't know about it in a lot of cases unless you're actively looking for it. So just having that pay posted on your job post is going to keep you out of trouble if your state does happen to be one of those states that have them now or is going to pass it in the near future. And another way to stay out of any legal troubles is that promotes fair compensation. So just having pay transparency on your job post, it just ensures that all candidates receive fair compensation, regardless of gender, race, their negotiation skills, which could keep you out of trouble because you don't want anybody accusing you of not giving them a fair offer. So it's just very helpful to have that pay included on your job post. I'm going to pause here for a quick second and give you guys a chance to enter in some questions because I know pay brings up a lot of questions. So I'm going to go into the chat bot and the Q&A and see if we have any questions coming through. So this says, do you by chance have pay rates for hygiene, assisting, and administrative in North Virginia, or where can I find those? So yes, absolutely. I mean, my suggestion is just go to whatever job board you were looking to post your job on, put in your zip code, put in the position that you're looking to hire for, and see what everybody else is offering. There's a lot of the Labor Bureau, they release stats every single year on what pay rates are. I find that those are usually so far off from what's being actually posted on the job board. So I highly recommend that you just see what the job boards in your area are showing other offices are posting their job at, and then just trying to be very competitive with that. Okay, so now that we've kind of got pay out of the way, we still know that for a lot of these candidates, a lot of them are looking for better benefits and better work environments. So this list here is what I've kind of gathered from multiple sources. I've reviewed my job posts that do extremely well. I've read articles and surveys that speak about the applicants and what the applicants want. And then just talking with my applicants every single day and them telling me what they need and want out of their careers. So I put all of this together for you. And my suggestion is that when you're writing a job post for any of these positions, you try to put as many of these points in there that you can. Obviously, if you don't offer one of these that then don't talk about it, but most of you offer this in some capacity, and I highly urge you to kind of put this throughout your job posts. There's some templates that Lisa's gonna upload, and then so you can use those and make them your own, but we'll go into one of them in a few minutes here and break it all down so you can see how we go about doing this. But just kind of a little bit of insight into this. Dentists, for example, we know a lot of them are probably coming from a DSO. They graduate school, they go into a DSO, and then they look for their second career in a private practice. A lot of them are very eager to have that clinical autonomy. So that's really huge. Partnership opportunity for dentists, if you put that on your post, it does wonders. You see a lot more applicants than if you're not offering a partnership opportunity. Again, you're open to it. You don't have to give whatever doctor you hire a partnership opportunity because it was posted on your ad. But if there is a potential for it, you do want to market that accordingly. Hygienists, this was not on the dental post salary survey report, but it should have been, because the number one thing I know hygienists are looking for is flexibility. So what I always tell my clients to do is let's list out all of the hours that they need coverage. And then say if you can work 2 or more of these days or 1 or more of these days, please apply. It's kind of a bummer to have to piecemeal your hygiene schedule together, but in some instances where there really is an extreme shortage of hygienists and they might be working in 2 or 3 different offices, it's sometimes the only way that we can get your hygiene schedule filled with hygienists. So definitely be open and willing to do that if need be. Or you can say, this is a 2 days a week schedule, could work up to full-time if desired. And then that way they have the opportunity to know that, okay, I'm joining them now with only 2 days, but if I do love them and I really want to be a part of them, I can work my way up to that full-time schedule. So just using little verbiage like that is going to appeal to their wants and their needs. Dental assistants, really, unfortunately, with the cost of living nowadays and how much they make, we do see that the majority of dental assistants are really looking for an increase in pay and an increase in benefits, but there's still some other ways to attract them. One of them is upward mobility within the practice, so giving them a way to join you as a dental assistant, assist them in getting in any additional certifications, bumping them up to a team lead, and then ultimately a back office manager. Having that career path for dental assistants and then marketing that in your job advertisement, you will find is going to attract a lot of not only just dental assistants, but serious dental assistants that really want to be a part of a practice where they can grow and build the practice with the doctor. Next thing is benefits. So I do know this for a fact, the job postings that have the longest list of benefits tend to do better than those without. So this is just a great little screenshot that you can take and keep handy. And then I do recommend when you go to post your job, trying to include as many of these as possible. A lot of these don't have to cost you extra money. One of my favorite things to do nowadays is sick days. We changed sick days, which you have to give in most states legal by law. We've changed that verbiage to mental health days or paid wellness days. And what we're finding is applicants really appreciate that because now they feel like you care about their mental health, which you should. But also they essentially know it's sick days, but they know, oh, I don't have to call in, pretend my voice is gone or that I've been throwing up. I can just call and say, hey, I need a mental health day, and that you're going to understand that. Again, it's a sick day. You were going to pay them anyways. You're just making it so they don't have to fake it with you, and they will appreciate that more. Or if you do a lunch and learn, if you do 1 lunch and learn a month, I would add paid lunches to my job advertisement. That's a paid lunch that they're getting. So just try to add as many benefits as you possibly can to your job post, and you will see a huge uptick in applicants. Not only a huge uptick in applicants, but a huge uptick in applicants that remember your posts and are waiting for you to call. So that way they're not very likely to ghost out on you because they're so excited about the opportunity to work with you. So before I get into the templates and doing a breakdown of an actual job post, I want to take a moment to talk to you about search engine optimization. So just like Google or Yahoo or Bing, job boards, they also work off of search engine optimization. And a lot of this has to do with holding you in suspense, with the keyword matching. So what is being searched by the candidates matching up with what you have in your job advertisement. So yes, your post has to appeal to the candidates and what their wants and needs are, but we also have to appeal to the job boards and what they want and need to see on your post to know who to show your job to. So when you write a job ad, we need to focus on common words that are searched often. So for example, if you need an office manager, you're going to say dental office manager in the job posting and use that as the title. You're going to get way more applicants with that than you would practice manager or practice coordinator because those aren't searched as often. And then you're going to make sure to use dental in the title as well. So that way the job boards know to target people that have dental on their resumes. You're also going to put that job title multiple times throughout your ad. My magic number is at least 3 times. So I'll put it up in the heading. And then in the first paragraph, I'll say our amazing private practice is looking for a dental office manager to join and lead our team. And then when I go to list out the benefits, our amazing benefits for a dental office manager include, and then my list of benefits. So that way you're really driving home to the job boards that this is for a dental office manager. Please target people that have dental office manager in their profile. Minimum word count. Most job boards have a minimum word count of 25 words. Please do not only have a 25-word job post. We do find that about 200 to 250 words seems to be the really sweet spot for success. And then your bullet points for your duties and requirements, we do want that to be similar to what's on people's resumes. So again, I said in the beginning, don't have a long list of duties and requirements, but maybe about 4 bullet points. And I like to take my duties and requirements straight from the job board that we're posting to. They usually offer a template. I will copy and paste just the duties part into my job posting that I put together. And that way I'm making it very, very clear to the job boards, hey, I'm using your template for this job post, the duties part. That is absolutely the person that I'm looking for. I'm absolutely looking for a dental office manager. So then they know who to show your job to. So that way you're not getting a bunch of applicants that are, veterinarian dental office managers or construction dental office managers. We've all had that frustration before. So we want to make it very clear to the job boards that we're looking for dental office managers by including that tidbit in our job posting. Next, you need a format in the job board itself. So many people I see like to just copy and paste from a Word document, and that very rarely comes over clearly. It gets very wonky once you hit publish, and that's going to make the job posting look very unattractive. It's going to make it hard to read for the candidates, but if it's a really truly bad situation, the job board might not even know what to do with your job. It's so confused. So when you do copy and paste from a Word document, just take a minute to go through and make sure that it is formatted properly in the job board, so that way it looks appealing when it's posted, and that way the job board doesn't get confused. We're going to avoid duplicates, meaning if you're using a template, make sure that you take a moment to make it your own. Or if you turn to ChatGPT, make sure that you are telling them to include very specific stuff about your practice. Because when ChatGPT first came out, everybody was pretty much posting the same job posts on all of the job boards because it was giving everybody the same job post. And what that does is it upsets the job boards. They don't like seeing the same posts across different practices, and they start taking them down. So your job won't even get seen if you have the same post as any other office that's out there. And then lastly, you do all of this and your job is still struggling, money talks. The more money you give the job boards, the more applicants they're going to show your job to. So that's definitely there for you. I do have a random side note. I didn't know where else to put this in the presentation, but make sure once you do publish your job, that you go and you try to find it and make sure that the reviews or the practice that they attached you to is actually yours. I've seen it happen so many times where a client might have a more generic name, and then they post their job and they get attached to a practice that is not theirs, and that practice might have terrible reviews, and then they're not getting any applicants and they're not sure why. So make sure you check up on the reviews that your job gets attached to. If it does happen to get attached to a practice that isn't yours, take the job down and repost it with maybe something that's not so generic, like the doctor's name, or something along those lines. So then that way, there's no confusion for the job board. All right, let's get into a template real quick. So Lisa already sent these out to you. There's two there. These two do very, very well. And you just want to kind of fill in anything like where it says Rockland, you would put in your location, and your pay rates and everything like that. This one does really, really well. First thing, it starts off very strong. Again, we're advertising, so we want to catch people's attention right away and prompt them to keep reading. So we have this headline, big and bold, up at the top, excellent pay, excellent benefits, flexible schedule. If I was a hygienist that was looking for these things, which we know most of them are, then I would be wanting to continue to read on. And then it's going to give some insight into the practice. So here we're talking about that we know from this that this is a private practice. We know how long they've been open and serving their community. We know that they have a supportive team, and a supportive team-oriented practice. And they're basically saying that everybody's welcome to apply regardless of experience when they say that new grads are welcome to apply. So they're not excluding anybody. They're telling everybody you are all welcome to apply. And then again, we know that hygienists want that flexibility, so they make the schedule very, very clear that you can work 1 to 4 days a week with them. They let you know what are the days that they prefer, and then they're letting you know that they offer 1-hour appointments just with 7 to 8 patients per day, which is also a factor that a lot of hygienists want to know before they apply to your practice. Another thing here to appease the job boards, we have the word hygienist 3 times already in just the top half of the job posting. So we're making it very clear to the job boards that this is a hygiene job post. Please don't show it to anybody else. Then we have this beautiful long list of benefits, and a really sweet and short and sweet testimonial from their current hygienist. Just like patients want to read reviews about your practice, they're also going to, candidates are also going to want to read reviews about you. So this is a very, very nice touch. And then again, these benefits, they don't really necessarily cost a lot of money. They don't offer medical, but they've made a point to include as much of those benefits on that original list as they possibly could. And then we are wrapping it up with those duties and requirements. This is mostly to appease the job boards, to tell them who we're looking for, and match us up with the right applicants. And then we have this last-ditch effort to grab their attention one more time and prompt them to apply with that great little closing call to action. So this is a fantastic template that is not only going to get applicants to apply, but it's going to keep them up at night waiting for your call, which should be the ultimate goal of your post. And this will hopefully decrease the amount of applicants that ghost you because they're excited to work for you. They're not going to ghost you if they're excited for the opportunity to meet with you and interview to have your job. All right, so now we've written up this amazing job post. What are we going to do with it? I've mentioned this multiple times already. I got my degree in marketing. The biggest thing that's been drilled into our heads is that your product needs to be seen by as many people as possible. Same thing with your job advertisement. It needs to be seen by as many people as possible. And if you did a really, truly good job of writing a job post, if we know about 66% of hygienists don't plan to look for a new job this year, but if you wrote a really good ad and you managed to get your post in front of them somehow, because they're not on the job boards, and they might still be compelled to come and apply to your job and interview with you. So we want to be trying to get our job in front of as many people that are looking for a job, but those that are also not looking for a job. So how do we do that? Job boards. My approach to job boards is the more the better. Obviously, as a busy dentist or a dental office manager, you don't really have the time to create and post your job on 100 different job boards. So what you want to do is you want to look for a recruitment service that offers you programmatic job advertising. This basically means that they're going to utilize technology that's out there to buy, distribute, and optimize your ad on as many job sites as possible. You're also going to look for a job board or recruitment service that's going to email blast your job out to all of the candidates that are in their database in your area. This gets your job in front of those that might not be actively searching the job board. But again, if you really wrote a compelling job advertisement, it grabs their attention. My hygienist is guilty of this. She uses Direct Dental, or she used to when she found her jobs. And she's like, you always email me these amazing jobs and I want to apply to them. And I'm like, well, you can't leave your practice now because I'm staying with you forever. But, she's getting blasted every time someone is posting a job on Direct Dental. And again, if they did a really great job of advertising or writing up that ad, it's going to get these people to apply. Next, you're going to look at your social network. This consists of your study clubs, classmates, previous and current colleagues, your employees. You're going to reach out to the local dental assisting and hygiene schools. Basically, anybody in the dental field that you know, you're going to ask them if they know of anybody that's looking for a job. This is the rarest way to find applicants, but in my opinion, it usually always yields the best employees. So absolutely not a step to miss. Then you're going to turn to your social media. You're going to obviously post your job on your social media sites. If you have a tech-savvy employee, you're going to ask them to make some fun reels or just some cute images to get posted about the job and kind of post it multiple times throughout the month that you're looking to hire. You're also going to utilize Facebook groups. So you're going to go to Facebook in the little search bar up in the upper left-hand side. You're going to type in dental assistant and then your location, so dental assistant San Diego, and it's going to show you all of the dental assisting groups that are in your area. You're going to join them and you're going to post your job. Then you're going to go to LinkedIn and you're going to type in dental assistant San Diego, and then it's going to show you all of the dental assistants that have profiles on LinkedIn. And you're going to friend them, and there's a little message box when you go to friend them, and you're going to type in that little message box. Really impressed with your profile. We are looking to hire a dental assistant. Here's the job details, and you're going to send that on over to them. Really great ways to get your job in front of those that might not be active on the job boards, but we have that great ad, and they're going to want to apply and work for us. Lastly, temp agencies, they are still a really great option. Downside is some of them are very expensive, but they do have a really great network of potential candidates and the means to get your job in front of them. So if none of these other things work for you, a temp agency might be the way to go. Plus, they can get you temp coverage until you're able to hire. Okay, so you've done everything I've talked about. You wrote an ad, you made sure it was optimized for SEO, you got it on as many job boards as possible, you post it, and then you go looking for it, or an employee goes looking for it, and you don't see it. What happened? So if you go looking for it within the first 24 to 36 hours, it might just be under review. There's a lot of fraudulent type posts or posts just trying to get people are posting jobs that are fake to get people's personal information. So a lot of these job boards have really stepped it up in their review process. So we are seeing a big delay of about 24 to 36 hours from the time you hit publish to the time that it hits the job boards. So do keep that in mind as well when you're trying to time when you want to post a job. If that 24 to 36 hours passes and it's still not visible, did you do anything to violate the posting guidelines? You are going to listen to all of the advice I just gave you. So no, you're not going to violate any posting guidelines, but ways that you might do that is if you have a low quality job title. So you did something vague like hiring now or holding interviews now, as opposed to dental office manager. Or your description was incomplete, you copy and pasted and didn't format appropriately and it cut off a lot of it, and it just looks really wonky and weird. They're not going to see it. If there is duplicate, so if you did like let ChatGPT write it without making it personalized to your practice, and 6 other practices across the US have that exact same post going, they're not going to show it to people. And then if you have any non-inclusive or discriminatory language, like if you say he or she multiple times throughout your ad, they'll probably not post it because it's considered discriminatory. Duplicate listing, just talked about that as part of the violations. They just don't want any duplicate listings for 2 reasons. It clutters up the job boards, and it also comes across like you're one of those phishing or fraudulent posts trying to get people's information. So just make sure you're doing everything you can not to have the same job post as any other office. Or if you posted a job on Indeed and then went to a service that has programmatic job advertising and posted the exact same job, now it's going to confuse Indeed because now there's 2 of the same posts for the same practice, and then neither one of those jobs will show. So if you're going to go with a programmatic job advertising service, let them post the job. Don't go to Indeed directly and post it, or just stick with Indeed directly or whatever your job board is that you prefer. The last 2, though, I think are the 2 number 1 reasons people don't see their ad. That is budget constraints. So if you set a daily budget for your sponsored job, which you should, or else you're going to go broke. Once you get to that daily budget, they're going to pause your job so it's no longer showing up on the job boards. That's an issue for you. You can definitely increase the budget and not have that issue later on. But this last one here is the number 1 reason is the algorithm. So if you had a profile in the past on Indeed, for example, that said you were a dentist looking for a dentist job, and you log in one day and you type in hygiene to look for your hygiene job that's posted, they're going to get confused because that doesn't match up with what your profile should be looking for. And then they're going to show you a very small sample size of hygiene jobs in your area, and your job might not be included in that. Or you did find your job, you saw it, you clicked on it, you looked at it, but then you didn't apply. You basically just told their algorithm that you are not interested in this job. So they're going to save me money on clicks and not show the job to you anymore, because they only want to show the job to candidates that are interested in the position. So if you see it one day, you don't apply, and then you don't see it the next, that's 100% the reason why you're no longer seeing it. Does not mean that other hygienists in your area are not seeing it. They absolutely are. If you're really desperate and need to make sure you can see it, you'll just need to go and clear your history and your cookies, and then it should probably show back up for you. Lastly, I want to instill this philosophy in all of you of always be hiring. A consultant friend of mine that I work with, we were having a chat, and she had mentioned that people were treating jobs like Tinder. There's so many job opportunities available to them, and they just get really excited. They kind of get this like what if high at looking at these jobs online. And this is probably why we're seeing this constant turnover of employees in our practices. So being a practice owner, we kind of want to counter that with our own philosophy is, okay, if you're always going to be on the job boards, I'm going to always be hiring. So how do you go about doing this? First, you need to let your team know that this is a philosophy you now have in your practice. It does not mean at all that you are going to be replacing them or you're looking to fire anybody or anything like that. But what you are trying to do is be prepared should someone have to put in their notice, should somebody have an accident, or should someone want to go back to school or leave the practice for whatever reason. You don't want to be scrambling when someone puts in a 2-week notice to try to find a warm body. You want to be prepared with a nice stack of potential applicants that are readily available to you. So your team knows this, they understand that this is your philosophy. This then allows you to post jobs from time to time. Yes, you might not be hiring, but maybe once a quarter you post a job for a certain position in your practice just to see what's out there, just to test your job post that you took all of my advice and created to see how well it does. Or you just, you've heard some rumbling from some of your employees. You just kind of want to see what's out there. So you post a job from time to time. Maybe a candidate applies that your socks are knocked off by how great their resume is. Take a moment to call them, explain that you're not hiring, but that you want to keep their resume close should you be hiring in the future. More often than not, they're going to absolutely say yes. And then what you want to do is keep their contact information. Then you're going to make sure that your front office knows to never turn away applicants. I don't think people understand how often this probably happens in their practice, and you don't have any idea. Someone took the time to print their resume out, to show up to your practice, to present their resume to you. Your front office staff instantly goes, "We're not hiring," and sends them on their way. So you need to make sure that your front office team knows to never, under any circumstances, ever do that. Rather, they're going to go grab you or your office manager, and one of you is going to come up to do a quick little meet and greet with them and then explain, "No, we are not hiring, but I am really impressed. I'm so thankful that you brought your resume in. I'm going to save it. And when we do have an opportunity come up in our practice, I'm going to absolutely be reaching out to you." So between the job posts, never turning away candidates, any other type of networking that you're doing, if you're going to talk to the local dental schools and you meet some students that really knock your socks off, or you're at a networking event within the dental field and you meet some great hygienists or dental assistants, gather their contact information, and then you're going to be connecting with them as much as you can. You can do this through social media. You can do that by, you're going to follow them, you're going to ask them to follow you, you're going to try to send them Christmas letters or Christmas cards when you send out Christmas cards, or if you know their birthday, send them birthday cards. Anytime you need a temp, you're going to be reaching out to them to see if they want to come temp in your practice, or if you have a colleague that needs a temp, you're going to be referring them over to your colleague. Just finding ways to touch them throughout the time it is until you're able to hire them. And then that way, when you do call them up one day to say, "Hey, I have an opening in my practice," they're chomping at the bits to get in there to interview with you. And then you're always going to be working to improve your employer reputation. You're going to do this through, just taking great care of your team. You're going to also, work on your online platforms, so your social media, having fun little reels created with your practice, and then having your employees maybe write nice little reviews for you on Indeed and Glassdoor. So that way, when someone does look up your practice to see if they want to work for you, they do see those nice reviews. I did have a poll that I wanted to ask here about Gen Z, because I'm going to get into it, but we only have a few minutes. So I think I'm going to skip the poll and go right into this. So that way we can get to some questions. So I had talked about in the beginning of this presentation how the Health Resources and Service Administration, they released data that's revealing that the dental professional shortage has increased up to about 10,000 dental professionals. And then we have that Dental Post salary survey report that's saying 34% of hygienists plan to retire in the next few years. How are we going to fill all of these shortages? It's going to be with the younger generation that is entering the workforce. Gen Z gets a bad rap. Lots of people say they don't want to work with them, but they are absolutely a necessity for us to fill these shortages, and they come with a lot of benefits. So let's get into that. So this is my market research that I'm sharing for you. So before we ever post an ad, we're always going to do market research. This is what I found for you, which is going to help us write an amazing job post to attract Gen Z applicants. So here's just some stats. They span in age between 12 and 27. More so than any other generation, their first job comes after completing high school or college. They're the most educated generation that we've seen so far. They have the shortest attention span. We find that Gen Z, they lose active attention to ads in just 1.3 seconds. So when you're writing an ad, you really have to have that attention grabbing headline to get them to want to keep reading your ad. They grew up with technology and they have a need for instant gratification. I used to always tell my clients, don't email candidates. They're not checking their emails. That's not the case with Gen Z. What I do with anybody that looks like they might fall into the Gen Z age group is I call them, leave a voicemail, send them a text, and email them. No, it does not look desperate when it comes to Gen Z. This is what they're used to. This is how they communicate with all of their friends over all of these different mediums. So they are very happy to have you reach out to them on multiple platforms. Plus, this gives them the opportunity to reply back in the format that they feel most comfortable with. A study found that Gen Z, their top concerns when it comes to applying for a job is looking for employers that care about mental health, care about environment and climate change, care about race and gender equality, and that they operate with ethical labor practices. So we want to make sure that we touch on those points in our job post. Another report shows that 61% of Gen Z has been medically diagnosed with an anxiety condition. So we really want to, when we connect with a Gen Z applicant, build rapport. We need to always let them know what the next step in the interview is going to entail. We just want to be very forthcoming with information that could do anything to calm their anxiety so they don't end up ghosting us, because they probably get so anxious that a lot of the ghosting that occurs is them getting so anxious that they don't show up for the interview. They grew up during the financial crisis of 2008. Many of them watched their parents get laid off, and they took this to mean that jobs don't necessarily care about them. So we find that they have the least amount of loyalty to employers than any other generation, but there are ways to get their loyalty, and once you have it, they will stick with you for life. And they have more opportunities available to them than previous generations. They're starting work with this gig economy. They're able to quit their 9 to 5, and that night they're driving for Uber or doing DoorDash. So they have the ability to pay their bills without having a traditional 9 to 5, which other generations don't necessarily feel comfortable with. So knowing all of this information about Gen Z, we just need to approach things a little bit differently when we go to post our job and interview them. But they bring so many great things to your practice. So just besides being the generation that's going to help us with this shortage, they bring a lot to the practice. They are technologically savvy. So you can ask them to handle all of the computers, handle any machine issues, handle your social media. Tell them to, hey, I want you to research all the latest and greatest technology that can build the production in my practice or make my life easier or your life easier. And I want you to bring that information back to us. They're going to be super happy to do that extra work to you and provide to your practice in a meaningful way. And you are utilizing how great they are with technology, and they're able to bring that information and handle all of these tasks for you. They also know what your new patient base is going to be looking for. Gen Z, they're aging out of their pediatric practice, and they're going to start looking for a general dentistry practice. So you want to talk to them and say, hey, what would get you to become a patient at my practice? And then you want to utilize that information that they share with you to come up with a marketing plan that's going to get new Gen Z patients over to your practice. They need to feel valued, which I mentioned. They feel like they're replaceable, and they get a bad rap as being lazy. But if you do find a way to connect with your Gen Z employees, find a way to make them feel valued and needed in your practice. So if you use tips 1 and 2 that I just talked about, they're going to absolutely feel valued and they're going to be very loyal to you, and make sure that your practice succeeds. And then lastly, they're honest. People misinterpreted this negatively, but if you can build a thick skin, they're going to give you feedback about yourself that you did not know that your other generation of employees don't feel comfortable telling you. And this gives you the opportunity to really step up and improve your leadership skills because you now have someone that's just going to shoot it straight and tell you, hey, I didn't like it when you did this. And then you can say to your other employees, hey, I did this. Did you not like that? And then know if it's something that you need to improve on. So take their honesty and utilize it to become a better leader for your practice. And then they're fun, they're youthful, they bring, it's new blood, it shakes things up in your practice. All of your employees are going to love them. So they're just really great. I'm going to wrap up here with a template. I know we are over on time. So this template here just does a really great job of grabbing their attention. It talks about, when we're talking about the practice, how we care about the environment, how we build a positive work environment for our employees. So it's touching on those things that we know Gen Z people are looking for. We did that thing where we took sick days and we switched it over to mental health days. And that's going to attract them because we know they really care about mental health. So this is a great template. Should you find yourself wanting to target Gen Z applicants, definitely great to use. I've got all of the resources where I came up with all this information for you. I did not pull it out of my tush. This is actual legitimate information that is out there in the field. All right. What about hiring a temp RDH and pay rates? Not sure exactly what you're talking about. Temp hygienists, though, they do tend to have a higher pay rate than people that are working in your practice. And that's because they're not getting access to any benefits or disability and things of that nature. So they do have a much higher pay rate you would find than someone that is coming into your practice. If you hired a temp and you love them and you want to hire them, you are not obligated to meet them at their temp rate. Rather, you want to sit down with them, talk with them about what they can bring to the table, and then what you bring to the table, what your benefits add up to, what being in your practice full time would entail, and get them to come to negotiation on the pay rate. More often than not, they do realize, okay, I'm getting benefits now. I have a place to call home, and they will take a lesser pay rate. Any comments on why applicants don't show for interviews? Yes, lots of comments. Why? Yes, I do. If you go to, I do have a mini webinar that's just about ghosting. I do feel like a lot of it, especially with the younger generations, is anxiety induced. So we want to be, when we're calling them to schedule the interview, we just want to be answering questions that they might not know that they need to ask, explaining the parking situation, explaining what the attire that they should wear when they come in for the interview. Just anything that might cause someone to panic last minute and not show up. You absolutely want to make sure you're answering that. I also do find if you build really great rapport when you over the phone, they're going to likely want to meet with you. So instead of just going right into interviews about questions about why they're looking for a new job, what the pay rate is, all of that stuff, take a moment to build rapport with them, and then take a moment to really sell them on the job before you start asking them questions about why you should want to employ them. Then that way they're excited about the opportunity a little bit more. We do see that when you take the time to do that properly, there's less drop off. Also have a blog post, a mini webinar about that. Are applicants, particularly our hygienists, asking if the practice is fee for service or PPO? No, I don't feel like they necessarily care about that, but they do. But if you have like an HMO practice, your pay rate might be a little bit lower. And so they've caught on to that. So if they want a certain pay rate, they're probably looking for a fee for service or a PPO practice. So if you are an HMO practice or Denti-Cal or anything like that, they might realize that when you talk about pay and if it's lower than what all the other offices in the area are offering. Or they're more concerned is if they're working double hygiene. A lot of them do not want to work double hygiene or condensed hygiene appointments. So they'll get concerned about that. So they're not necessarily worried about what you're making on the patient. They're more concerned about what they're making. And so if you're not making a lot on the patient, usually translates to less pay for them. And that's what their concern is. If a practice hires direct dental, do you screen ads? Yes. So if you choose to do our essential plan, we do not screen the ads because you're just doing everything on your own. But you can absolutely reach out to me with your ad and say, hey, can you take a look at this and post it, or not post it, but can you take a look at it and give me any suggestions? We are always happy to consult on job postings, pay rates, your interview process, all of that, but you do have to reach out to us. If you're doing a boosted or a full service, we are writing the ads up for you so we know exactly what's being posted to make sure that it is an ad that's going to get candidates and appease the job boards. Which are well-known agencies which advertise job? We use Indeed. So Direct Dental is a great option for you. Biggest reason is we get your job on Indeed, but then a bunch of other platforms. Just the more eyes on your job that we can get, the better. So I do like Direct Dental for that. But every kind of location has like a certain dental post company. So if you want to reach out, I can definitely look at your location and give you any suggestions. If it's not us, give you a suggestion of someone else. And then what do we need to do to get the loyalty from Gen Z? The biggest thing is making them feel utilized beyond just their role, and then making sure that they you're telling them often how critical their role is to your practice, how much your practice benefits from having them there, just really connecting with them, and then having tiers for them to work their way up within your practice. So we know Gen Z, they're kind of like, let's go, let's go, let's go. What's next? What's next? What's next? So when you hire on, say, a Gen Z dental assistant, you're hiring them on it as a dental assistant, but you say, hey, you're here for 2 to 3 years. I'll move you up to I'll help you get your certifications to become a registered dental assistant. You're here with me a few more years. I'm going to move you into a team lead position. You're here with me for a few more years. You're going to become my back office manager. So you're setting up ways for them to move throughout your practice and move up. And you're giving them opportunities to do stuff outside of their roles. So again, they're your dental assistant, but they have some downtime. Hey, can you schedule out some fun social media posts for me? Or hey, can you do some research on any great new products that are out in the dental field that I don't know yet? Or hey, do you want to go step out for a few hours and drop some flyers off at all of the apartment buildings nearby? Just giving them ways to shake up their daily routine is going to help get their loyalty. Excellent perspective on hiring. Oh, from Canada. We'll be expanding into Canada really soon. Perfect. All right, so you have that course handout. You have my contact information. Thank you for sticking with me 11 minutes past the end time. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you all.